A community in Durham came together to remember people who were shot to death in 2022. Tonight we're hearing their names once again and what leaders are doing to fight gun violence. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Renee Chu. So far this year, gun violence has killed 43 people in Durham. That's down from last year. Today's event hopes to bring that number even lower next year.
WRO's Adam Owens joins us live after attending the event and speaking with a woman who lost two sons to gun violence. Adam?
It was quite an emotional event, Gerald, because you heard the names of all of those victims, people who have died by guns here in the city of Durham over the last year. They were read aloud right here in the heart of downtown Durham. And as you mentioned, some of the people in the gathered crowds, those names were their loved ones.
Jalen Mills, Tony Smith Jr.
City leaders read names of people killed by gun violence in Durham this year. Sherry Williams knows one of them very well.
I just lost my youngest son May the 26th of this year.
Her son was 21-year-old Jabari Williams. She tells me he was shot in his car outside a store in Durham. Jabari is the second child she has lost to gun violence.
My oldest son was murdered back in 2007.
That son was Jaquinton Sellers. After his death years ago, Williams started a group, Mothers of Murdered Kids, to support other grieving families. A few nights ago, she tells me she heard the familiar pops outside in her neighborhood, a sound that haunts her.
When you hear gunshots these days, what goes through your mind?
Not another child.
Durham Mayor Elaine O'Neill says most gun violence can be traced back to poverty.
We have to give people alternatives, ways of making a living.
She also called on ordinary citizens in her city to stop the shooting before it happens.
Somebody knows beforehand that someone is angry, and there's a possibility that violence will occur.
Williams has her own thoughts on what needs to be done.
Until they get these guns off the streets, we're going to keep going through this. You guys are going to keep covering this same story, but with a different mother.
You really have to feel for her there, Gerald. You know, in both of her sons' cases, she says no arrests have been made so far. That is really hanging over the family as well. She also reminded me that while many of us were gathered in our homes this Christmas, she was visiting a cemetery, visiting her two sons who were buried not far from one another. Gerald.
Well, her pain and anguish matched by her frustration. It's clear to see it on her. Adam Owens reporting live. Thank you, Adam. Gun violence in Durham is something we have explored with our WRAL documentary unit. You can watch Durham Under Fire right now on our WRAL Docs YouTube page.